Welcome to 10 common driving law myths explained. Hopefully after today you'll not end up in this building behind me.
This video is sponsored by NordVPN.
If you speed past the speed camera and it doesn't flash, does that mean you're not getting a ticket? Well, the simple answer is no. There are many different cameras that work in different ways, and not all of them are going to flash if you go past too quickly. Smart motorways are the classic example with the average speed cameras. Other factors are that some don't flash because they may dazzle oncoming drivers depending on the time of the day and the light conditions, and others work in infrared. Just don't go past the speed limit and you'll be fine. Some people say that if you don't go above 10% over the speed limit, you won't get a ticket. That's not the case. Even if you're 1 mile per hour above, you could still be prosecuted.
Things like the time schedule. And what they said was, context IQ is an ingredient of our AI capability, and most things you're talking about are products. Okay.
Some police forces do operate at 10% plus 1, 2 or even 3 mile per hour across different areas in the country. So literally, don't risk it. Stay below or at that limit. Surprisingly, there's still a fair bit of confusion on leaving seatbelts off and whether or not that's going to be illegal or not. So hopefully this will give you a little bit of clarification. You do not need to wear a seatbelt if you're a driver who's reversing. So if I'm going backwards, that's fine. Or something common to me, if I'm supervising a learner, I can also remove my seatbelt. If you're travelling in a vehicle that's been used for police, fire and rescue services, you don't have to wear a seatbelt. Another time is if you're driving a goods vehicle on deliveries that's travelling no more than 50 metres between stops. A little thing about taxi drivers: any licensed taxi driver who's plying for hire or carrying passengers does not have to wear a seatbelt, but if you are a passenger, you do have to wear one. There are also medical exemptions that stop you from having to wear a seatbelt, and if you've got one of these, they'll give you a certificate of exemption from compulsory seatbelt wearing, and you must keep it in your vehicle and be ready to show the police if you're stopped. A lot of people ask whether you have to wear a seatbelt when you're pregnant, and you absolutely do. Even on a driving test, if you're not going to wear a seatbelt and you're pregnant and you haven't got a medical exemption, this driving test won't go ahead. I'm not an expert on exactly where is the best place, but from the bits that I've read, usually underneath your bump for the lap belt is the best place to wear it. Even disabled drivers have to wear a seatbelt unless they're exempt for medical reasons. This may mean adaptations to the vehicle. Before we go any further, I'd just like to have a quick word about today's video sponsor, NordVPN. Most of my viewers will know that NordVPN is a virtual private network, and this gives you an encrypted private connection between two machines. When you use this service, any internet sites that track user data will see NordVPN's information rather than your device's information, and this can have many benefits. If you use my link in the description, NordVPN are currently offering huge discounts if you choose their 2-year deal. You can easily choose where your connection seems to be originating from, helping you keep your data safe, but it also allows you to access certain video on demand services that might restrict programs you wish to watch due to the country that you live in. NordVPN is fast. In fact, it's the fastest VPN out there. It encrypts all of your traffic, so internet service providers can't slow down your streaming speeds. If you get NordVPN using my link, it's risk-free, as it's covered by Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. I'm really happy with my subscription to NordVPN because I know it's always working in the background, keeping my data safe wherever I go on my travels. Now, just before I go, I've got an extra little point. I've been parked in this car parking space for a little while, and this is my ticket. If I put my window down and threw it out, could I be done for littering? Well, the answer is a categoric yes. 200,000 sacks of rubbish are cleared up from our A roads and our motorways on every year, and this costs £850 million to tidy. You can be prosecuted for littering, so don't do it. This is one of my pet hates. The highway code does state that we shouldn't use our horn in the operating hours after 11:30 at night until 7 in the morning. That does, however, exclude danger. It's not a problem if you're going to avoid an accident by using your horn in those times. Use it. It does, however, exclude just letting another road user know you are there over a humpback bridge at night, or even maybe warning someone who may step out from behind this vehicle if it wasn't too dangerous. That scenario, you shouldn't be using your horn. But using a horn like a stress ball to tell people off could land you with a £30 fine. And if this escalates and goes to court, that could end up being 1,000. Is it illegal to ask your passengers for money, maybe for fuel or electric? Well, if you're just asking your mate for a tenner to help towards the running costs of your car, that's not an issue.
But if you're going further than that and you're purposefully driving and picking someone up and charging people for this service, that's a big no-no.
Now, you could also be considered to be operating a taxi without a licence, and that can come with a large £2,500 fine. It can also invalidate your driver's licence straight away, so don't go near doing that. It's not worth the risk. But here's something that I have a couple of times thought about. It's not something that I would do, but I'd like your opinion on it. Now, you obviously know I'm a driving instructor, and driving instructors are allowed to teach for reward. In other words, we're allowed to charge people for it. Could I go into maybe Liverpool city centre on a busy maybe New Year when people are looking for a taxi and there's none about and everyone's standing about trying to get home? Could I actually go up to that person and say, would you like a driving lesson? You're obviously not driving because you've had a fair few to drink, but you can sit in the passenger seat, and we are going to do a driving lesson on the way home because I'm going to be talking about all kinds of driving stuff. Could I get away with that and still charge people? I'll be interested to hear your comments. So what about eating or even drinking whilst we're driving? And we're not talking about alcohol here, we're just talking about maybe normal food. I've just gone and got my lunch. Is that illegal? Well, on its own, no. However, it's like many things that we do in the car, even operating a sat-nav screen. If we're inputting our destination and we're taking our attention off what's going out in front, we could be done for careless driving. And that goes exactly in the same way with eating or drinking or even smoking. And while I've just mentioned alcohol, I may as well have a little talk about it. People always ask me, is there a legal limit where I can have maybe 1 or 2 drinks and I'll still be okay to drive? I don't get this. I don't get how people don't understand the variables. There are so many variables, it's untrue. The size you are, the strength of the drink, what you've had to eat. I'm not going to go into that now, but the simple answer is don't mix them. If you're going to have a drink, don't drive. Leave your keys at home. Some people say, is it illegal to have a dirty car? Well, not necessarily on its own, but there are certain things I would like to add. Your windows must be clear, your lights must be clear, and so should your mirrors. But number plates, if they're not readable, because they're dirty, you could be landed a £1,000 fine. There's one last question I'd just like to answer just before we call this video a day. Now, it's this: does comprehensive insurance allow me to drive any vehicle? And the simple answer is no. People think that it still does, and it's not the case. It does with my driving school policy. I'm allowed to drive any vehicle I want, and that's because of the business that I'm in. But most comprehensive insurance policies nowadays don't allow you just to drive any other vehicle. You must check it in the policy wording yourself before you go off and drive anyone else's car. Now, I hope those points have been helpful. If you've got any questions, I'll always do my best to answer them in the comments, but thanks a lot for staying to the end, and I'll see you all soon.